There was no treatment for TB in the earlier times.
有啲病人又呸咯。
After the war, KK Hospital was a mess, and they didn't have enough staff.
But there are more people having babies.
Malnutrition, infectious diseases, overcrowding was still rife. We could not depend on the British. They themselves were poor.
Singapore is so tiny with so many people, with almost no resources. How can we survive?
Kandang Maternity Hospital breaks the record for being the world's largest maternity hospital. With a record birth of 39,835 babies born in 1966, Kandang is now the world's busiest maternity home.
我生咗17個咯，係咪大家庭咧？過年就好似拆屋咁咯，你都冇地坐㗎，坐到人哋隔離鄰舍嗰啲，你知政府屋㗎啦嚇，個走馬路坐到滿啦。
I was doing shorthand, and then this person had very squeaky shoes, and he would walk back and forth looking into the class. He used to accompany me. I didn't know he taught only once a week. I went 3 times a week for class. After walking and talking to each other, then he said, will you marry me? So I went and told my mother, and she said, wait, I must go to uncle first. She went to ask her brother-in-law. I said, oh, he's a very good man. So my mother said, yes, you can marry him. We had a registry wedding. That was just after the war.
À lão母講好能就好咯，伊教我大人大了，就啲就愛教應，袂使講自家無教應。啊，伊講無教應無用。阿媽有講啦，所以咪笨多卡啦，咪叫破鏡，先一間呢定啦，攏袂曉嘅。唔知，佢哋講好咯，安尼就煞咯。人嘅是命。
I was only 18 years old, a young girl. They thought to be my wife, likes me. Followed me to the house, tackled my mother. So my mother liked her. That mother told me to marry her. I said, huh? She's 16, I'm only 18. Mother said, so? Married. That's how I got married. I have a good wife. Together we built. That's why I remember her. She lived with me 57 years and 19 days. I still miss her.
以前我哋啲女仔冇得出街㗎啦，冇得睇人㗎啦，睇咗男仔就我要他㗎啦，無能嗌救然後咧都得喎。舊時就咁老豆講結婚嗰個，我哋就結婚㗎啦。我哋唔識得講佢白啊、黑啊、肥啊、白啊咩，我哋唔識㗎啦，結婚入去㗎。我生咗個頭長女啊，我唔識得養㗎啦，我以為公仔啊嘛。我個妹同我湊，因為我哋唔識，唔知道講呢個係我個 baby。啊，我妹走嚟鬧我啦。個 BB 我飲奶啊，抱嚟俾飲多奶啦，飲多奶俾翻我咪做嗰種飯。頂翻特你定臨時，然後未曉嘛，定臨時驚無 stop 嘅嘛。之前就講在呢度 stop 啦，就一隻腰啦，想頂翻冇，能真係能冇啊！你坤做嘅。你幾日見下我 一攞一個啦，一攞一個是講13個。等快講會是安尼款的啦，半攞無講一個兩個啦。
There was industrialization in Singapore. Then there was overcrowding. Of course, there was this post-war baby boom. Every family has more than 6 children, up to 12, 13, 14. Year after year, the woman has one baby after another.
Those other year, you need manpower. So they don't mind big family, especially boy. That's why they favor boy because they can help to work. During baby boom time, the delivery ward was very, very busy, whether day and night. So many in the labor ward, they're waiting for delivery. Sometimes you're so short-handed that you can't even attend to all. One, you attend halfway, the next bed already yelling that the baby coming out. So sometimes the minute finish, you jump to another one, you jump to another one. You can imagine last time they really delivered a lot of baby. 70, 80 is very common. 100 is not a surprise because nighttime we non-stop delivery. Especially nighttime, a lot of mother coming in for delivery. So much so that sometimes we have to put those cot, the mattress, lie along the corridor of the labor ward. And then no bed.
KK Hospital was a mess, and they didn't have enough staff. They were all overworked, you see. They didn't have enough workers, nurses and all that. The nursing aide, she then told me she was a hairdresser's assistant. She tied a bed sheet to the foot of the bed and made me pull and exert so the baby popped out. I had a terrible tear. I remember I had 12 or 16 stitches. Dr. Shears came to see me. He got a shock. He said, "Your fever is so high." Then I was sent to the isolation ward. Nobody else around. I was left alone. I'm a tough person. I'm not scared.
Mỗi人講生細佬哥同閻羅王隔一張紙啫。有啲比較有錢啊，佢咪叫翻嚟咯，貴啲啦嘛，叫接生翻嚟接生。
Those years, people have the mentality they are very fearful to go to the hospital. If possible, they die must deliver the baby at home. The minute the family call you for delivery, you have to go. One night, this Malay gentleman pressed the bell call. I have to follow him. But when I arrived his house, then I discovered, oh my goodness, it's a breech presentation. Breech presentation means that baby buttock will deliver first instead of the vertex. The vertex is the head. Then immediately I tell the husband, it's very risky to deliver at home. You are not allowed to deliver at home. Then immediately I carry the patient. With the patient, I sit at the back of the private taxi. So I told this driver, you drive fast, go to hospital. She yelled already, said, "Missy, saya tak boleh tahan. Anak mau keluar." So run, then I deliver lah. I really delivered the baby in the car, at the back seat. I don't care how messy my uniform, so long the baby head, I manage to deliver. Sometimes I also ask them, why you want to give birth every year, one after another. He said, Missy, if I don't give birth to a baby, I don't have good food to eat. It's only the month of confinement, the mother-in-law will allow her to have better food.
We were poor, unemployment was there. Going to school also, I think we were having some issues that the number of schools may not be enough.
我去個打拖，去個焗呢家攏做唔到個做嘅，頭先就即係後路邊嗰個對面哦，應擺倉嘅也是我能做嘅。呢隻更歡喜隻咯，你成日打撚係隨隻金魚啊！伊無物件，咱嘛是無物件，愛行用佔本波啊！
女人冇做工㗎嘛，頂返冇工做啊，同洗衫同燙衫咯。洗咗燙咗五角啦，如果唔可以燙就三角啦。我車衫我識得車衫喎，我車衫俾人哋咯，車嗰啲男人嘅底褲三角啦，一條底褲，瞓覺個三五角咯，半夜車到3點我就起身咯，起身就帶啲仔翻學咯，去咗翻去北新買嘢啦，去買埋嗰啲平嘢咯。
The civilian population were extremely undernourished. We have sanitation issue, we have many environmental and health issues.
We were a third world country, still poor, so we had a lot of waterborne diseases, foodborne diseases, like dysentery, typhoid. Infectious diseases were rife. TB was the #1 killer. Those were terrible days.
The cleanup of Singapore River continues to be plagued by difficulties. While workers scour the waterways to keep it free of rubbish, it remains a challenge to stop the discharge of wastes and pollutants into the river due to street hawkers and squatter premises that line the banks.
Oh, Singapore River is so filthy. I remember our helper, the Amaje who followed us all the way, every evening finish the food, everything, all the rubbish. Every family the same, just carry and dispose into the river.
You can tell that you're in Singapore River even if you're blindfolded, because when you're near the Singapore River, you can smell Singapore River. What's the smell? The sewage.
In the early 50s, there would be cows that will pass the shop along the road. They were like being herded home. So these cows, they will just poo-poo, and the cow dungs will be on the road itself. They don't clear them, they don't clean them. I remember the cars and the lorries and the goods vehicles always drive over them.
Now those here don't have market, so-called, all are roadside. Along now the tourists like to go to Smith Street, are all the roadside wet market hawkers. Very unhygienic because all the chicken, duck, fishes or what, you buy, they just slaughter there near the drainage, and so smelly, full of flies. Well, those years the sanitary system is so bad, you don't actually complain 啊。
啲大雪人咁幫特佢鄰賓晒啊嘛，四圍屙屎嘅啦，窿中冇一笪乾淨嘅啦。哎呀，我哋咩都睇晒咯，以前。
哦，我们的厕所是另外一个很远的，要走很远，用也是阿大到那个屋顶就围起来嘛，木板围起来，水呢就井水呢就是吃啦、冲凉啦，全部用那个井水咯。
個廁所喺外出咯，唔喺裏頭啦，喺外出咁幫外出嘅咧。嗰個廁所係一個廁所可能10幾間個人去屙，一個廁所就落雨要擔遮嘅咧，好麻煩嘅咧。一個廁所會搖嘅咧，點解佢釘嗰啲板落去？呢度一塊板，呢度一塊板，兩塊板啫。你唔識得叉咗落去，你就泵咗落去裏頭。
There is no flushing system. Early in the morning, about 6 a.m. in the morning, the poor man will come and clear the soil basket and replace one clean one for you all to use.
你嗰個 uncle 都好好嘅，有時我哋好可憐佢嘅。點解佢嚟？佢個屎滿咗啊！喐嚟喐去，窿中周身窿中係屎嚟嘅啫嘛。佢嚟到兩次咁樣勾一場差唔多。你一齊有人坐喺度，佢唔理你唔理，因為有道門閂住啊嘛。咁佢咪喺嗰度拉咗個屎桶出嚟，掉一個新嘅入去咯，吉入去咁啊玩，咪行落去咯。
I was always reminded by my mother to say, be very polite to these people as they walk through your dining room and living room, because if you're not polite, they would accidentally spill the sewer on the floor.
Spitting is very common. You can imagine if you are careless, you walk without looking at the road properly, you might just simply step on those sputum or whatever. So it's horrible.
An infectious disease known as tuberculosis, or TB, has seen an increase in the country. This disease spreads from an infected person to others through airborne respiratory droplets and primarily infects the lungs.
People here were so afraid of hospitals, so afraid of clinics. They really don't have much trust in the Western medicine. The Chinese goes to their Sinsei. Local people, they go to the Bomos, the Dukuns, or the Indian medicine people when they are sick.
以前的人最中意，我爸爸生病怎么样？去挖那个草根咯，去煮那个水喝咯。你相信的测2、3次它就好，真的会好。如果不好呢，你就另外找一个方法咯。那个时候医生也是很难找，也是贵啦。
咳得多就飲嗰啲涼茶、刺秋，嗰條好平啫。啱佢一隻兩兩格，佢就窿多陣啲侵晒落去噶啦。我哋煲咗揾冰糖落去煲嚟飲咯，俾佢曬嗰啲毒。嗰陣時加咗飲呢啲以前冇大用藥噶啦，我哋個個係飲嗰啲嘢，不嬲好平嘅啫。
唔使藥噶啦。好似而家你哋咁樣覺得啲眼成日咁出啦，甩啲鹽出個口食，咪叫你吞你含。你一含落去咧，佢出眼佢就慢慢好舒服噶啦。
我有一個我阿公，我老母嘅老爸嗬，有到長山來了有一個，到長山是東鄉里東山。伊是做唐人先生，我能騎巴來，伊騎到Bukit Timah 七個，你我能行路落來，行真遠咧，行咗唔知我想就2點鐘啊， 啊是咱無好話愛，個樣我能抱我能做只落人啊做着會坑嘅驚嘅，行去個去痛。
My youngest daughter, she had eczema. My mother-in-law said, Western doctors don't help. I'll take her to the Chinese sensei. So my mother-in-law took her to the sensei in Upper Cross Street. He was called the frog medicine doctor because they said his white ointment was made from frogs. He would have a basin of hot water where he had boiled some twigs and some leaves. We would go there every time to soak our hands and then buy the ointment to apply at home.
Nobody like to go to hospital. Very fearful. I think, of course, due to educational level, basically they don't have much education.
So if you want to provide health care in the rural, they don't come to you, you go to them. So we have traveling dispensary. We have the district midwives. We have the district nursing. Before that, nursing was a female's job. After the war, they began recruiting males.
There was shortage of nurses, and nurses were required because after the war, when the hospitals were coming up, we had to have a lot of nurses. And the recruitment of nurses was every 2 times a year or even 3 times a year. There were 80 of us recruited at that period of time, 80 nurses, and of which 14 were males. We underwent a 3 years and 4 months training course. Nursing was not an easy job at that period of time. I myself was working in the tuberculosis hospital at that period of time. There was no issue of us being scared of being infected with TB. We were giving sputum marks to the patients to cough. And I don't remember even that we used to wear masks. We were just doing normal nursing care for the patients. The wards were dormitory wards. It means we had as much as 40 patients. And when the 40 beds were full, we had to get spring beds, folded beds, and put in the center and in the corridor to cope with the number of patients that have been admitted. And on the admission days, we could land up with even 60 to 70 beds.
The numbers of patients were about 5,000 a year, and you can just multiply that over the years.
There is death happening, and then it's a junior nurses. We used to wrap the corpse and send to the mortuary and all that. That was a task that we had to do it as a nurse.
You know, it was very challenging. We never had working hours. We went on, we did what we had to do. We started very early, sometimes at 7 o'clock in the morning. We don't go back until we have finished our work.
The health diseases like tuberculosis, malaria, typhoid, dysentery, and beriberi. These were the prominent challenges that we faced, but they were being contained by different organizations.
A mass X-ray campaign is launched on the 1st of July 1958, aimed at discovering the speed of TB in both urban and rural areas. Many had to be convinced that X-rays were harmless, quick and free. Some 51,000 people have been X-rayed. About 2,000 people are discovered to have TB and require treatment.
There was no treatment for TB in the earlier times. When 65 or so, I think there was Medical Research Council, MRC, which did a trial on how to treat tuberculosis.
I was working in tandem with the British Medical Research Council to bring the treatment of TB from a 2-year regimen to only a 6-month regimen, where the patients must cooperate and see that they really take their medicines. At first, they had to take for 2 years. Many of them stopped their treatment, and of course, we had relapses.
有陣時講病腎嘈，有啲人冇去打針啊，啲細蚊仔好驚打，啲美斯走嚟追我哋咯。啊，你冇帶你個仔去睇醫生啊？我 OK， 我就冇去嘅。
When patients come to you, you encourage them, beware of this is not hygiene. You can get tuberculosis because through the spilling. Tell them all this. You can get fined subsequently.
I must say that a lot of work besides BCG that started. We had X-ray campaigns to educate the population in the populated areas in Chinatown. And in the more rural areas, Bukit Panjang, we had another campaign there.
We were in the school. The school nurse came to the school and they did the month-2 tuberculin test on the forearm. Then the school nurse will come back and use a metal ruler to measure the induration, the raised hardened piece. When the child doesn't have any signs of tuberculosis, we were given BCG inoculation. So for those who have issues and the measurement was unfavorable, the nurse will refer and tell the parents to bring them to Tan Tock Seng for further investigations.
Later on, as we had drugs being shortened, we managed to control disease more and more. TB, from being a #1 killer, is now way down, well beyond the 10th killer.
During my home visit, I saw a beer can next to the bathtub. Then I asked kids, hey, why there is a beer can there? Oh, we use this to bathe the baby, just pour some, so that the baby don't kacau, don't kacau, can sleep. You cannot give alcohol for the bathtub because the baby, that means absorb in the body. It's no good for the development of the brain because the baby is so young. It's still within a month old. So all these are because they have no education. Maybe they carry down from their mother practice and they use it for themselves. So we are the ones who educate them.
I remember I had to conduct a health talk on breastfeeding, and my assignment was to teach in Hokkien. I also had to demonstrate to show the mother how to cook the baby's broth, the technique to get the ikan bilis powder, and how to mash the blanched spinach so that the baby got healthy food.
I cannot manage to feed my family. I'm ashamed. Every year I have one child. I had to borrow money My mother had going to be a washerwoman just for temporary to set everything right.
舊時又必須揾牛奶粉食啊，食嗰啲熟奶啊，一箱箱買翻嚟啊，都唔得掂咧，一箱箱買翻嚟。而家一乜嘅幾十蚊啊，舊時一箱真係好平啫，幾十蚊啫，20-30蚊咧一箱牛奶，叫做都好貴㗎啦。
冇食嗰啲嘢啦，乜都冇嗰啲最貴咧，2格8一罐。就咁食嗰邊波波，地屙波波。我係驚去讀冊啷當，一個無讀間入地屙嗰邊屙啦。我啷無可以攞去學堂讀冊咧，無可以攞啊！等讀嘅爸母可以1格2格，我係啷當冇制定嘛。我未去食落地皮，誒安哥早就嚟啷，啊我啷交代咯，一包落地皮1格啦，啷當是皮啦1包。
I still have this very interesting comic. It is actually a publication in the early 60s for Ministry of Health to distribute to the families. There were people who were not educated. They can't read. Then cartoon, comic was easier.
You push family planning method, then you get tell off by the patient because they say, Missy, you can give birth, I can't. Then you have to explain the reason why, give them some education so that they are aware of their well-being and you have a better future for the children, you have sufficient of food, able to go to school and so on and so forth.
They started these school health services. So when they have malnutrition, the nurse goes to the school and the nurse see they are really below weight. They will weigh them and then they will chart, and every time the weight never goes up. So at that time, school health will inform the mother, you can come and collect and bring back milk powder and fresh eggs.
We give them full cream powder milk, ask them to drink so that they have sufficient of protein, including those toddlers if they are poor.
We have other health educational campaigns, to educate the population to become more careful, and even hand washing. I think our medical standards have improved immensely, and I hope our new generation will follow our footsteps.
As an ex-firefighter, I noticed the terribleness of the heat.
出來人打，人打你一刀袂使轉咧，伊講一刀着火燒。
哇！啲火啊，漫天飛啊！我行到我個人啊抽佢咧。
I can't remember how we place ourselves in the first place. We don't actually know your status in Singapore. You are still under the British government. So I suppose like second-class citizen maybe.
None of us in Singapore had citizenship because we were only British subject. I remember that if you see a Chinese and said, what country they belong to, they'll say China. To an Indian, they'll say from India. Malay will be Malaysia.
这个是我小学毕业证书。上次就是讲华语呢，我们不是新加坡人嘛，所以说写广东省普宁县啊，我在那边来的，不是我是在新加坡出世的。
We didn't have nationality. There was no such thing as the Singapore as a nation. No such thing. If you look at the map of Singapore in the 50s and so on, the urbanized area is just a tiny area in the central part. In looking back, I realized that those people live in very harsh conditions. All the buildings are blackened because they have not been painted for decades.
If you're poor, you suffer more. They don't even have electricity light. They all use kerosene light.
Fire swept through a densely populated part of Singapore on Tuesday, destroying thousands of wood and palm-thatched houses. Firefighters continue the effort to put out the blaze as the fire leaves many homeless.
As an ex-firefighter, I noticed the terribleness of the heat. Heat because why? That area, the houses all wooden, and the roof are all attacked. Especially the structures are all wood, and the roofing are all attacked. And I can see fire start flying from one roof to another roof, like somebody throwing, you know. But I say, hey, wow, terrible, this fire.
嗰度咁幫火燒咗嗬，好彩我哋嗰邊冇燒到。一出嚟冷打都兜鼻使燈咧，嗰陣兜條火燒，紅山、老馬定機攏燒晒。
跑，得卡達車店，哇！啲火啊，滿天飛啊！我行到我各位，人啊抽起來，了我就是一個對視嘅查某囝到屋，個紅馬屋，了我大部人啊到屋，哇！啲火滿天飛，跑啊，樹呢啊，劈啲個風啊，青板，啲火就撲啊，飛啊，飛到迄間嘅樹就燒，飛到迄間嘅燒。我是行到我到人愛興啊！厝睇佢咯，要間嘛無通叫，有火你睇你就驚咯，你我若厝袂着興。
Every Sunday, we send somebody down to the area, say Tiong Bahru or Bukit Osu, whatever it is. We send a firefighter at the kampong how to extinguish fire if there's a fire. They gave us a logbook, about 600 pages. So every day, any incident, fire incident or ambulance incident, you have to note in the logbook. So from there I can learn and see what type of fire this is mostly kampong. They mostly say drop light. So this drop light could be somebody smoke cigarette throw, or somebody throw rubbish, burning rubbish.
the local people's living condition was not well taken care of. When you have a problem, when you have a need to solve the housing problem, we keep building up our capability to meet the problem.
政府話啲地由政府收咯，所以而家啲北東百聲咪起晒呢啲政府屋嗰度政府收。
Subsequently, Im Chu Kang, Yo Chu Kang, Chua Chu Kang, all the land slowly taken over by the government. Subsequently, all moved to the housing estate.
有話大部人提供開始，就個土地好嘈，啲土地當用嗰勁嘈，嗰時土嘈真貴嘅，就土就掉，一度冚一半，免房路即係維修嘛。隻腳好隻，隻面腳好隻，佢留咗一陣布。十幾歲時仲冇衫冇褲啊，單咧好長第三嚟褲工愛情艱苦，這種人唔通情人歡喜了喎，我真保恤衫褲，我係衫褲隻佢啲下上幾冇用呢，我有計衫褲10幾年啊，我本燒吧。
The regret is that I didn't have higher education because we had no money, no home. And the 4 of us going to school, how do you pay for the books and things? To live was already difficult. But I had a very wonderful life myself, I know. So I had a good time.
垃圾正茶家姐仲80個歲了咯，仲呢啲大孫啊52歲、48歲、50歲，一個孫大 MC 人51歲，啊個一個大孫呢52歲，查某，啊個一個查某孫駕車到緊啦。我同我個仔講，我同我個孫講，個父母係咁就 OK 嘛。以前我同我個仔講，以前我哋咁慘啊，而家呢個點樣嚟咗，點樣好。我哋仲教嗰啲孫啦。
The old Singapore which I know and lived in has disappeared. Every generation has got its memories, its core, and it's different from what happened before, and it would be different from what is to come.
Currently at 94, my mind is still intact, and I am enjoying my life now.
Memories are important. I think it grounds us. I understand the world passes by, everything goes on, it changes. I've had a rather adventurous life. I know my children will remember my stories.
Jadi kalau fireman kena 51, dia tahu ini finding kita.
At 92, I have to think of finishing well this last lap. I still do advisory work at the medical school, advising mainly on postgraduate medical studies.
This is me in 1965.
We must learn the history to know where we came from. and also past lessons where we did well. As long as my health permits me, I would like to continue to share what I know to Singapore and to other parts of the world.